LeBron James has become one of the Lakers' top 3 biggest problems. LeBron just isn't elite anymore. Right after he hinted at retiring and skipped the farewell tour, a Lakers coach finally voiced what everyone has been thinking. It might finally be over. Since Bron returned, I feel like our offensive rhythm has been totally lost. That was blunt. When LeBron heard it, his reaction stunned the entire league. Here is the deal. JJ Redick stood there after a loss, dissecting his squad. He avoided naming names and refused to point fingers at any single person, but his specific phrasing triggered a massive chain reaction that is still erupting. For me, the absolute top priority is having clear player roles. Ever since we got Bron back, he paused for effect, then he kept going. Our offensive organization has really suffered. There are way too many random plays. You get it. That is on me. Redick made 3 points during that presser. He claimed the team lacked role clarity. He claimed the offense got messy since LeBron returned, and he took full personal responsibility as the coach. That is exactly what he said. He stood up and took the heat. He only mentioned LeBron once while focusing purely on the offensive structure. But it did not land well. Craig Carton from The Great Garden Show watched the footage and had a take with zero gray area. To him, Redick basically told the entire world that LeBron James is washed up, and Carton let it rip. LeBron James is a top 3 issue for the Lakers. Carton took those comments regarding offensive role clarity and flipped them into an attack on LeBron's skill set. He bridged the gaps in a way Redick never actually did not in public anyway. Then he doubled down. Redick needs to be more demanding because LeBron James is officially over the hill. That word, washed, instantly went viral. Every sports talk show and NBA podcast began debating the take. LeBron James is simply not a great player at this stage. Defensively, LeBron James is struggling. He is a total liability for the Lakers now. Every word hit hard. Carton went deeper, linking LeBron game to something far beyond the basketball court. For someone who thinks he is a global ambassador for hoops, you are destroying the exact sport you claim to rule over. That statement is about way more than stats. This is about legacy, and it dropped just days after that Redick presser. The link between them, Redick's careful words and Carton's brutal takedown were being tied together in real time by millions of people watching. Carton had one final piece of evidence for the audience to chew on. He mentioned LeBron's agent Rich Paul and a specific moment from a recent podcast. Even his closest friend Rich Paul seems to be turning on him. When Max Kellerman asked who takes the final shot to win a game, things got interesting. Carton claims Rich Paul would choose Michael Jordan over LeBron in that situation. That podcast moment Carton mentioned fueled a fire already spreading across the league. For Redick's part, he's fought back against media and fan speculation about LeBron's future moves, even mocking rumors about another decision-style announcement. Once the coach spoke, his actual intent didn't matter anymore. What people heard was all that counted, and they heard LeBron James was the root of the Lakers' problems. The timing was brutal. The team had started this season without him. He missed 14 games because of a bad back. When he returned, the rhythm the squad built without him just vanished. Redick pointed that out, but the narrative was already set in stone, and it looked bad for a 41-year-old in his 23rd season. People weren't asking if Redick was right about the strategy. They were asking if LeBron had become the problem instead of the fix, and that noise was about to explode because JJ Redick wasn't the only Laker legend with something blunt to say about the situation. It gets louder. If Redick was the match, Byron Scott was the gasoline. Scott played for the Lakers. He coached them too. He's got the authority to talk about the team that most reporters lack. When he was asked if it was time for LeBron to leave, he didn't blink or hesitate. Look, I'm a fan, but I don't sugarcoat things either. Byron Scott, a 3-time champion for the Lakers, finally said out loud what the league had been whispering for months behind closed doors. Personally, I think this should be his final year here. Not in the league, just here. The Lakers need to move on. Even if LeBron's got more to give to some other team, go home if you want, but you gotta get out of here. But Scott's words opened a door to a much uglier conversation about what LeBron had actually been doing on the court during that 2025 season. The host picked apart specific habits he felt were killing team success, and the claims were brutal. The first big accusation was stat padding. The point was simple. At 41, LeBron wasn't playing to win anymore. He was playing to protect his legacy numbers. Defensive issues were the next big problem. His 2025 season stats show 1.2 steals and 0.6 blocks, which look fine on paper, but the eye test told critics otherwise. When it was time to close out or stay in front, he just wasn't there like he used to be. The chemistry with Luka Doncic was the biggest argument against him staying. Sources say there's real worry about the hierarchy and keeping everyone involved. When you team up two superstars who both need the ball to dominate, one of them eventually has to sacrifice their role. And the massive question all season was if LeBron James was actually willing to be that second option. An unnamed Eastern Conference executive felt the exact same way in February 2026, telling ESPN the Lakers should trade LeBron and build a new roster around Luka Doncic. This wasn't just some TV pundit chasing clicks. This was a legitimate NBA front office insider offering a brutal, cold-blooded strategy that matched everything Byron Scott and the media were saying. The narrative had officially taken hold. The coach was already venting about deep team issues since LeBron returned. A three-time Lakers champion had publicly claimed it was finally time for King James to go. Talking heads called him washed, selfish, and just a stat patter. Then an anonymous pro laid out the money-saving benefits of letting him leave. But the most important voice in the room was still missing LeBron's own perspective. When LeBron finally spoke through all that external noise, the endless questions, the hot takes, and the secret insider leaks, the superstar opened up and said something the basketball world had never heard from him. He finally uttered the one word he avoided for 20 years: retirement. It happened right after the Lakers were booted from the playoffs. LeBron had dropped 40 points in a losing effort. He sat at the podium and began speaking in a tone that felt unlike any other post-game interview he'd ever done. We will see. We will see. We will see what happens next. The opening was vintage LeBron, vague, guarded, and revealing nothing. But then his whole energy shifted. That repeated phrase, "we will see," turned into something that felt much less scripted. Honestly, I just don't know. I have a lot to think about. And then he kept going. Regarding my personal future and the game of basketball moving forward, I just have a lot to consider. Those words exploded across sports media like a bomb dropped into a quiet room. LeBron James isn't sure he's coming back. The headlines practically wrote themselves. Unlike that earlier Redick presser, which needed a lot of spin, this was LeBron himself, raw and honest after getting swept, admitting that his legendary career might be ending. The media reaction was instant, ranging from pure shock to deep skepticism. Joy Taylor, speaking on her show, had a very firm take on what LeBron was actually doing. He's not quitting. I feel incredibly confident in saying that right now. Her logic was based on something very specific and personal to LeBron. First, he has been extremely clear about wanting to play with Bronny, and that dream is still very much within his reach. You cannot ignore the Bronny factor when trying to predict LeBron's next move, especially with a $7.9 million incentive on Bronny's deal running through at least 2026 to 27. It might convince LeBron to stick around on a veteran deal with fewer minutes. King James mentioned that sharing the court with Bronny would be a massive family milestone, and the way the money is set up makes that dream possible. Retiring now means giving up the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play alongside his own son. It is a feat no father in basketball history has ever pulled off at this level. Still, not everyone was buying the narrative that he would be back. One sharp observation came from that same panel, picking apart a comment most viewers completely missed. Following that tough exit, LeBron told the press he still ranks in the top 5 or 10% of all players. At first glance, it sounds confident, but hidden in those words was an admission that shocked people paying attention. Think about it, LeBron was essentially admitting that 10% of the league is better than him. Exactly, or maybe 5% are ahead of him now. The host then dug into the deeper meaning behind that statement. The true greats never say that, because before you say anything out loud, you have to actually believe it first. That one thought revealed something huge. For 20 out of his 24 years playing high school and pro ball, King James was the best player on the floor every single time he played. Now he's openly admitting that a real chunk of the league has finally caught up. Those aren't the words of someone plotting their next title run. It is the talk of a man facing the end of a career that has lasted longer than some teammates have been on this earth. Another Commentator looked at retirement through how every legendary athlete eventually hits that final buzzer. The point was simple, yet emotionally heavy in its brutal honesty. All-time greats retire for one of two simple reasons. Either they have won everything, or they realize they are nowhere near a title. But LeBron doesn't really fit into either of those boxes. Obviously, he has won it all, earning 4 rings with 3 different teams, but the massive gap between the current Lakers and a true championship team felt like a deep canyon that even his legendary skill couldn't cross. LeBron didn't just lose to Denver, he got totally swept by the Nuggets. The road between LeBron and a ring isn't just 2 series, it is 8 full games. Getting swept was the emotional breaking point. It wasn't just losing, it was failing to win even one single game. The host brought up an idea called distance determines drive. It means your motivation to keep chasing a goal depends on how far away it seems. But even during the post-game press conference after the sweep, another analyst warned everyone not to take LeBron's comments literally. That take was clever and recognized exactly how the King has played this game his whole career. The hidden meaning hung in the air, like a dark cloud that those retirement hints might not have been just emotion. They could be leverage. LeBron is facing a $52.6 million option year, and keeping retirement talk on the table gives him massive leverage over how the Lakers build their future squad. If the franchise thinks he might actually quit, they will do anything to keep him happy, from trading for stars to fixing his minutes or paving the way for Bronny. LeBron has described leaving the game as a new beginning, not an ending, focusing more on mental peace and family than chasing records. It shows he is already visualizing a life outside of basketball even if he is still competing, even if his mind is not fully made up yet. The stats behind the drama: most people talking about LeBron retiring are just sharing loud opinions, dissecting every press conference and overreacting to post-game quotes, calling him selfish or a stat chaser. But basketball is more than just emotions. It is a game of data that records every single thing that happens on that hardwood floor. Those records show a LeBron James in 2025 who simply does not fit the narrative of a player who needs to quit. LeBron played 60 games this year, averaging 20.9 points, 7.2 assists, and 6.1 boards. At 41, in his 23rd pro season, he was still 26th in the league in scoring. Not for his age or for veterans, 26th in the entire league, competing against kids who were in grade school when King James won his very first MVP trophy. His shooting percentages were just as impressive, ignoring the usual effects of age. He shot 51.5% overall with a true shooting of 59.4%. You do not put up numbers like that if you have lost your touch or your scoring ability. These are the stats of a veteran who knows, after over 20 years in the league, which shots are high percentage and which ones to avoid. Advanced metrics make the washed narrative fall apart when you actually look at the impact he has. His efficiency rating was 20.8. His box plus minus stayed at 3.5. And the Lakers' on-off numbers tell the real story. The Lakers went 39-21 with LeBron, but struggled significantly in the games he had to miss. A positive score of 3.5 means the Lakers were much more dangerous with LeBron playing than without him. That is not the stat line of a washed player. It is the proof of a superstar who still changes the game. You have to look at the injuries to understand his season. He missed 14 games with sciatica, a nerve issue in the back and legs that is notoriously tough. His return to the court had to be handled with extreme care. No training camp, no preseason, just straight to work. He joined a roster that had already developed their own rhythm and chemistry without his presence. The chaos Coach Redick mentioned was not because LeBron cannot play at a high level anymore. It was simply the struggle of fitting a legendary, ball-dominant star back into a working system. A system that had spent a whole month learning how to survive without him. Then came March, the month that, by all accounts, shifted the entire Lakers franchise landscape. Something finally clicked. LeBron James took a backseat to Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. The impact was massive. Los Angeles went 15-2 that month, their best run in a long time. During that stretch, LeBron put on a masterclass in team-first veteran leadership. 56.2% shooting, 18.5 points, 7 assists, and nearly 7 boards over 14 games in March. Those stats show a superstar who learned how to dominate without needing the ball constantly. The scoring dropped. 18.5 is not the 30 per night he used to drop, but his efficiency peaked. His playmaking remained elite, and the wins started coming so fast that all the early season hate looked ridiculous. The big three of Luka, Reeves, and a selfless, adaptive LeBron played the kind of ball fans loved. For the first time in months, Laker Nation felt genuinely hopeful. That late-season surge carried right into the playoffs. In his final 3 matchups before the postseason, King James averaged 24 points, nearly 10 assists, and 6 boards, plus 3 steals. Those are the kind of numbers any coach would die to have on their roster. Averaging double-digit assists proves LeBron was not just stat padding. He was feeding his teammates at a level that most elite point guards could only dream of. Analyst Joy Taylor, who followed the Lakers season closely, pointed out the gap between the rumors and reality. The man can still go out and drop 40. He is not washed yet. We are not watching some old guy struggle just to get down the floor. That fact was backed up by something the critics mostly ignored. The Lakers locked in the number 4 seed in the Western Conference. This was not a lottery squad being held back by a fading star. They were a legit contender that, when healthy, played a brand of basketball that terrified every other team in the West. Look, the signs of age were there if you actually check the advanced data. His three-point shot was only 31.7%. His raw scoring totals were down. That legendary first step that made him a transition nightmare? Yeah, that had clearly slowed down. Not gone, but definitely slower. When injuries hit Luka or Reeves and LeBron had to carry the scoring load, you could see the strain on his 41-year-old frame. But here is the thing. Regression is totally relative in sports. LeBron at 85% is still a top 30 bucket getter in the NBA, still a genius playmaker, and still makes Los Angeles better every single time he steps out there. The real question was never about his decline. Of course he slowed down. It was whether that decline had finally reached a breaking point where his presence was actually hurting the team chemistry. Only he knows the answer. Between the coach's comments and the front office moves, Byron Scott, Craig Carton, anonymous execs, the noise is everywhere. All those talking heads dissecting LeBron's cryptic post-game interviews. But it all boils down to one simple truth pundits cannot touch. This life-changing decision rests on LeBron James and nobody else. New reporting from The Athletic is out. Released on April 17th, 2026, it confirms rumors we have heard. LeBron hasn't decided anything yet. Retirement is definitely on the table. Brian Windhorst and other insiders say the Lakers are completely in the dark. They call the situation truly undecided. It's not just fake drama for the cameras. He isn't some player who has already decided and is milking the spotlight. This is a 41-year-old father with an empire and a family. His body has survived 23 grueling pro seasons. He is genuinely weighing if the grind is worth one more year, but the factors pulling him back are powerful. That $7.9 million bonus in Bronny's contract makes a family reunion very profitable. Bronny's rookie deal lasts until at least 2026 or 27. That means the window to share an NBA court with his son is closing. Walking away now means that dream is gone for good. LeBron has been saying the same thing for years. Playing with Bronny is the one massive goal that still motivates him to keep going every day. I truly believe he wants this more than anything. When you stop and really think about what this means, getting to play professional ball with your own son, that's historic. That deep personal connection might be the only thing keeping him in the league. It's not about money or records or proving his loudest critics wrong. He doesn't need to show anyone he belongs. It's about looking over and seeing his own flesh and blood running with him. But the reasons pulling him toward retirement are just as powerful and cannot be ignored. At 41, the recovery and the rehab are a daily battle. Managing his minutes gets harder every single year. That sciatica issue that cost him 14 games was a massive wake-up call. Even his perfectly maintained body cannot outrun time forever. Even his elite output requires extreme caution, according to various reports. Every game he plays is a war between will and biology. Teammates whisper that he has nothing to prove. You can't measure that feeling with basic stats. It's the pure emotional exhaustion of a man who already owns every record. Leading scorer, 4 rings, 4 MVPs, and 20 All-Star nods. At a certain point, the drive must come from inside. No trophy or award can provide what he's looking for. Whether that internal fire is still burning is a question only LeBron can answer. Rumors. People keep talking about a sentimental return to the Cleveland. Maybe the Cavs or Warriors, but nothing's actually been confirmed yet. Those scenarios would mean leaving the Lakers, but definitely not the sport itself, adding yet another wild variable to a decision tree that's bigger than a redwood. The cap space argument, letting LeBron walk so the Lakers can retool around Doncic with younger, cheaper high-upside players, exists in front office spreadsheets, but it's not official team policy. Right now, the door is open for LeBron's return. His 2025-26 performance has been, for any 41-year-old in any sport, incredible. A plus 3.5 BPM, a true shooting percentage near 60%, and a 15-2 March proved that three-star model works. A team that finished as the fourth seed in the toughest conference in all of basketball. Whether he will stay or finally retire is a question no one can answer for now, but the NBA world will keep watching. So when is the right time for a legend like LeBron James to walk away? And do you think he should go out on his own terms or wait until the game says it's over? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. For more basketball videos like this, click on the next card on your screen right now.